Hey everyone, my name's Walter, and we're back here to read about another nice guy. Now there's nothing wrong with being nice, but the guys we complain about make it problematic somehow. You see, every kind action they do is in pursuit of a relationship or sex. And if it doesn't end up happening, you might see their bad side as they get really pissy about everything they ever did for milady. And today's story takes place at a furry convention, so basically everything cringy this nice guy does is just going to be a bit cringier. Anyway, that's enough setup. Let's just begin with more nice guys from Reddit. This story comes to us from Reddit Nice Guy Stories, a great place for you too to leave your stories if you want me to see them. Nice guy at furry convention. Hi, you know how it does. Long-time lurker, first-time poster, although I watched YouTube videos instead of being in the subreddit. So this is my first time sending any stories to anyone whatsoever, and English isn't my first language, so I hope everything is well written and easy to understand. Also, yeah, this is a long detailed story. Oops. I'm a 24-year-old male-identifying person. I went to a furry convention a few months ago. This was originally written for a YouTube channel. It was actually the second convention I've ever been to. Everything went great the first day/night. You know, at these type of events, it isn't strange to hold parties at rooms or raves at night at a designated place in the hotel. Everything started on the second night of the convention. The hotel staff wasn't quite happy with how noisy room parties got the night before, so some parties were moved to specific conference rooms at the convention center of the hotel, and even the smoking area/room, since it was noise-proof. I was just chilling in the smoker's room, drinking and chatting, probably on my third large-sized can of beer, when a new person coming into the smoker's room, let's call him M, introduces himself. We were instructing newcomers to please introduce themselves, trying to emulate a classroom first day introduction of sorts. I don't remember how much time happened since he introduced himself and until this M guy approached me. This is how it went. M introduced himself to me again and asked my name. While I introduced myself, I remembered seeing him and his character, or persona, before. We had been Facebook friends for a while. It's not that uncommon of a thing. I have a bunch of local furries added to my Facebook account. What happens next, I did not expect. After recognizing each other from Facebook, he proceeds to tell me that actually, I've been his crush for quite a while. I was on my fourth beer at that moment. I was feeling a bit tipsy, and well, I tell him I absolutely had no idea, and I made the big mistake to tell him that I'm single and open to romantic relationships. We talk for a while in the smoking area. I end up blurting out that I have no place to sleep on Sunday night, the night after, because I was trying to save me a bunch of money by waiting till Monday morning to grab a ride back home on a carpooling app. I lived in a different state. It wasn't planned, so I didn't pay an extra night at the Airbnb I was sharing at with a friend. M tells me not to worry. He calls his friends who are sharing a hotel room with him, tells them that they'd be okay with me swapping places with him. He said he'd find somewhere else to sleep that night. They agree. It makes me feel less stressed out. M suggests we change locations since the smoking area is being super loud, playing drinking games and yelling. Now that I'm reading this all over again, I remember he took a picture of me and sent it to his roommates. Didn't think it was weird at that moment. We move near to the main stage, where the rave party would be starting soon. We sit down at a table, and this is where I start feeling uncomfortable, like super uncomfortable. He starts asking me things like, what do you like in a man? And telling me he's super nice and affectionate and would go the extra mile for me, visit me, call me every day, make sure a lady like me is well taken care of. A small alarm starts to go off in my head. He said he liked me for quite a while, but he doesn't know or chooses to ignore how I identify. You know, I really don't think it's just that he doesn't know. He just wants a girl, so he's going to convince this trans man that he's wrong and should just give up and be his sweet lady. Not using someone's pronouns is really a better way to insult them than to hit on them. And he didn't even realize it, but all of his efforts after this were in vain because this was already enough to ruin his chances. Let's keep that in mind, but let's get back to the story. I'm a tall, short-haired person. I bind regularly. I've passed as a man quite a bunch of times, and it makes me so happy. Yet he decided to go on and call me girly pet names and address me as a lady. Okay. At that moment, he stopped being a person of any interest for me. He then proceeded to ask about my life, like anything and everything. Me being slightly inebriated, I did tell him a few things here and there about my family, my dogs, my career. Some time passes and the rave started. A friend, let's call him B, comes to ask me if I'll go to the rave. I'm not quite the rave person, neither is B, but well, given that I have a partial fursuit, head, hand paws, feet paws, and a tail, of one of my characters, it would be fun to dance and show off for just a few minutes. Can't do more than that since it gets hot with the head on. I agree, and M, without being asked to come, puts on his head too and goes to dance with me. Okay. It's kind of funny that he tries to chase me around to dance with him. I find some friends on the dance floor and dance with them instead. I get tired after half an hour. Let B know I'm heading back to my Airbnb, and we both make our way back to where I left my stuff. M comes chasing right after me. I say my goodbyes to B and M. They're left alone together. This will be important later. And find the friend I'm sharing the Airbnb with to get an Uber back together. The next day I head to Artist Alley early in the morning. I have a spot to sell there, pretty much like in an anime convention, but with furry merch I produced myself. Not a sight of him, luckily, till about 4 p.m. He literally comes to sit on the spare chair behind my stand, uninvited whatsoever. And the worst thing is that he smells a lot like wet dog, no furry pun intended. He tries to pick up where we left and proceeds to ask the same questions. To please tell him more about my life and things I like and dislike in a relationship/partner. He also fucking tries to be the salesperson at my table, making some people uncomfortable when they say they're just looking. At this point I'm tired of him. Right when I'm about to lose my marbles at his insistence, a different friend, let's call him S, comes to my table. I make him sit on my other side and proceed to make small talk. I'm praying he notices I'm being cornered by M there, but he doesn't. At this point I'm just wishing if I knew this guy's first suit was a dog. Because that would make the cringy rave scene funnier, watching a guy dressed as a dog following someone else around like a lost puppy, so to speak. He's really going all in on someone he doesn't even know. You'd think he'd have someone else to hang out with who isn't obviously ignoring him by the time the last day comes around. But logic goes out the window in these stories. I can be extremely shy. Things can be going wrong and I will still not raise my voice or voice my real thoughts. And because of that I don't do much about it, besides probably sporadically ignoring M in favor to talk to S. M doesn't pick up that I'm not interested either. M stays on my table till Artist Alley's closing time. At this point I start selling my stuff cheaper since it's the last day of the con, and I wouldn't like to stuff my posters back into my suitcase. That'd probably crumple them beyond saving. In the last, 30 minutes before closing time, M decided to take it upon himself to sell all my posters. He starts yelling like it was a marketplace, and God, that was fucking embarrassing. He was trying so hard. What in the heck? At least he managed to sell all my posters. For dirt cheap, literally at printing price, but I didn't have to stuff them back into my suitcase. After posters sold out, he tried to help me pack up my merch. I, however, did not want him meddling with anything inside my suitcase, given it had my clothes in there. So I packed stuff all by myself. He waited around because he had the key card to the room and I needed it to take my stuff up to the room. Once in the room, I met who would be my roommates. It turns out I knew one of them, like personally. A good guy. Met him back home. The other guys were super nice. I even got commissioned by one of them. It made me happy that I was going to be safe in the room that night. Or so I thought. I wanted to have dinner with B and some other friends that night. It was a long day, so I just wanted to take a shower before going to eat dinner. I asked my roommates if it was okay if I borrowed the shower. They were pretty okay with it. But heck. God, I don't think I've said the word heck so many times in my fucking life. I was absolutely creeped out that M stayed behind. I'm freshly out of the shower and it's just the two of us in the room. I'm starting to get what he wants. At least I'm suspicious. He asks me what plans I have for the night and I tell him I'm meeting up with friends to have dinner, so I just grab my stuff and leave. He leaves right after me. He follows me to the lobby in hecking silence. The friends I'm having dinner with aren't in the lobby yet, so I decide to make my way over to where some other friends are gathered. Make small talk till B and the others arrive. M stays for a while just next to me for a few minutes, not saying anything, then just leaves. I'm so relieved. B and friends arrive. We go get tacos. I'm back at the hotel, make my way to the smoking area, and make some small talk with people I just met yesterday there. Furries are usually very, very friendly. He texts me asking where I am. It's around 12 a.m. I tell him I'm just chatting with some people, then he gets all pissy I'm talking to other people and not coming to hang out with him. He asked me to come to where he was, but no way in heck I'd go there alone. At the end of the day, he still has the key card as I forgot to ask for it. I mean, he was going to swap places with me and he would sleep somewhere else. At around 1:30 a.m., I tell him I'm ready to go to the room, if he could please hand me the key card. He doesn't. He instead comes along with me. I am thinking the worst. It's late. His roommates aren't in the room yet. Yikes. He asked me where I want to sleep. There's 2 double beds, so 2 people would be sleeping on each bed. I picked the one on the left corner, facing the wall. I don't like sleeping near windows for reasons. M makes a snarky remark telling me that a straight guy would be sharing that bed with me and it's dangerous. That I should share a bed with him, a nice bi guy, instead. So, he's sleeping in the room. He lied to me about finding somewhere else to sleep. Yeah, and let's not act like that wasn't the plan from the start. He obviously figured out he wasn't wanted at dinner, but at least he's still gonna trick him into sharing a bed with him. As for not sleeping in the same bed as a straight guy, this doesn't make sense in a few different ways. Suffice to say, he still seems to be going after Milady. What a miserable situation. I tell him I'm okay with sleeping on that bed, sharing with a straight guy who has not expressed any interest in me, at least that much I knew. He said it was okay, he was going to respect that. Yeah, sure. He sits on the bed next to me, tried his awkward talk again. He even pet my head and called me cute girly names. Oof. The rest of his roommates arrive at 2 a.m. One of them ends up sleeping on the floor. M makes the remark that he would never make a lady sleep on the floor. I did mention I was okay with sleeping on the floor before, since I was already crashing in the room for free. Everyone gets ready to sleep and I expect M to switch beds. That never happens. I swear to God, I was so deep into this bad situation I didn't know what to do, besides screaming for help if he did anything to me at night. After all, I did have a friend sleeping in the same room, like I mentioned before. I couldn't sleep well. M never took a shower since afternoon when he came to my stand and still smelt like wet dog, like super strongly. He also snored like a fucking truck klaxon and apparently kicked in his sleep. The only way I knew he was truly asleep was because he kept snoring loudly. I barely got any sleep between watching out from him trying to do anything to me, his snoring, his smell, and his kicking around. I was brought to that room with lies. That pissed me off to no end, but I couldn't bring myself to say anything. I couldn't bring myself to ask other friends. I did not want to bother anyone this late at night, even if they were probably still awake or even partying. The next morning, my driver moved the hour of his trip to later that day. I wanted to be home early since my sister and my little nephew were visiting. I felt like my intention to save money and everything I went through was useless then. I endured this guy's antics for nothing. I could have left on Sunday night, never accepted his generous offer. I ended up buying a bus ticket back and paying a ton for an Uber to bring me to the bus station. The hotel was very far away, it was at least a 30-minute drive. After the con, he still messaged me on Facebook, to my annoyance. I was definitely ignoring the guy. Yeah, this guy's insane if after that mess he thought their interactions went well. He'd be better off just never messaging the author again. I told B all about it a few days after. He told me something that disgusted and horrified me to no end. M told B after I left that he was planning on doing the do with me, and talked about it so profoundly, and apparently B wasn't the only person he bragged about it to. I in no way or form suggested I was going to let him have his way. He was planning to have his way with me. He tried to set the mood for it more than once. He talked about how nice of a boyfriend he was, to the point he was super annoying, yet all his fuckboy ass wanted was to screw. And then he spread this rumor to more than one person, tainting my image in the community? I'm no piece of ass anyone can use as they please. He thought I was an easy fuck if he was nice enough to me. LMAO, it pissed me off so fucking much. Don't get me wrong, this community has a lot of super nice people. I took the room offer as a selfless act of kindness. To be honest, if someone else was in the same situation, I would have offered them a place to sleep too. What I did afterwards, after clearing my mind and all, was to tell him to drop the act. I told him what B and other people told me he was saying about us going to fuck and how much it disgusted me. And well, that was just yesterday. He blocked me. He didn't defend his sorry ass or try to tell me he wasn't showing off that he was gonna get some with me specifically. Trash sometimes takes itself out. Update, it's been a while since I originally wrote this, so this part is an update. I don't see anything about him since I haven't blocked ever since last year. However, recently someone put up a call-out post about him because he owed money to a bunch of people in different states, LMAO. On that same post, people started bringing up stuff like him sending pictures of minors in the community to other people, unrequested dick pics, and the worst of all, uploading personal sex videos of a bunch of people without their consent. I really dodged a bullet back then, and I'm glad more people know he's a piece of trash. Yeah, okay, so the furry community itself is very inclusive. What this leads to is a lot of predators hanging out in the community, and sometimes they're even allowed to stay for a long time. There is a whole subset of people who go to cons looking for someone meek enough to take advantage of. Either to try to force their way into someone's room or try to trick someone else into their bed, like in this story. I actually shouted at my screen a few times at the author to just tell this guy to fuck off, but I guess I get why he didn't. It would be so easy for a nice guy to just be like, oh, you don't want to sleep in the same bed as me? Find somewhere else to sleep then. At 2 a.m. on a Monday morning. Anyway, let me know if you have anything to say about the story. I really hope the authors of these stories don't let someone pull this shit again after the first time. The people who go to furry cons generally look forward to it all year, and then some jackass essentially ruins the whole thing like this. Anyway, it's about all the time I have for you today. thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked it, please leave a like, or a dislike if you hated it. Comment if you have something to say. I generally see all comments made in the first few days. If you liked it and haven't subscribed yet, there's no time like the present, and it really helps out my channel. I also have to thank my generous patrons. I think I'll be doing that by name next time, but you probably noticed how I obstinately use a lot of words that get me demonetized. That's what Patreon helps me out with. I'm considering taking the next logical step from dating hell and covering Reddit relationships, because I've been reading a lot of it lately and there's some really good stuff there. Let me know if you'd like that or not like it. Well, have a great night, everyone. And final question, why the fuck wouldn't he shower at a convention after going to a rave? The guy was a total wreck.